New this year with iOS 17, Apple gave us standby mode. I'm Eric Welander. Welcome to my channel all about Apple and smart home tech. And I think that standby mode is pretty close to the smart home display we've always wanted Apple to make. And since it's been out, I've been using standby mode all the time. And I want to go through the different features of standby mode that I find really useful, including some great third-party apps and widgets that I love. And thanks to Bazius for sponsoring today's video. More on them in a minute. Now, to get standby mode to come up on your phone, you have to put your phone in landscape and plug it in or connect it to a MagSafe charger. Now, once you have standby mode running, there are basically three main modes that you can have it in. And starting from left to right with widget mode, this is where you can have two different widgets side by side on your phone. Now, these are blown up versions of the small size widget, if you're familiar with widgets from your home screen. And a lot of those widgets from your favorite app can also work in standby mode. Now, you're limited to 10 widgets per side right now, so choose carefully, but that's still 20 widgets you can have at any given time to swipe through. And to page between them, you just swipe up and down on either side and it will go between each widget. And then long press on any of the widgets to edit that widget stack. So this works just like widget stacks you might have used on your home screen or elsewhere in iOS. You can turn on Smart Rotate, which means if there's a widget that's updating with new data or something your iPhone thinks is relevant to you, it'll switch to that widget automatically. You can also turn on widget suggestions if you want Apple to suggest some of your widgets that you might want to use in standby mode. You can then tap the plus button if you haven't filled up your 10 slots to add widgets you want, and you can have multiple of the same widget type with different settings. For example, you can have different weather widgets with different locations if you want to. One of my favorite widgets to use in standby mode is the, of course, Home app widget. And when you first add this widget, it'll fill it with a bunch of suggested accessories. And that's not really ideal. So you want to tap on the widget once you're in that sort of editing mode, and that will bring up the customization settings for that home widget. You can turn off the recommended switch and customize which scenes and accessories you want to show up in that widget. Now, there's another widget I also like using for smart home control, along with a whole host of others. But first, thanks to Bazius for sponsoring this video. So what if I told you that all the shots of standby mode you've seen here were powered by the Bazius 140 watt IOTA portable power station? And that was like no sweat for it to do that. This battery is powerful enough to fast charge a 16-inch MacBook Pro from 0 to 50% battery in just 45 minutes, or charge up 6 devices at once, or completely charge an iPhone from 0 to 100% 8 times over. 140 watts strikes a nice compromise of being bigger and more powerful than a smaller battery pack, but it's not as massive to move around as bigger ones that I've seen. The included carrying case makes it easy to keep it ready to go with the charging cables you want. Best of all, the Type-C 1 port supports bidirectional 140 watt PD 3.1 fast charging with the supplied cable, and if you use a 100 plus watt charger like this MacBook Pro charger I have, you can charge the battery pack from 0 to 100% in just an hour and a half, which is insanely fast. I also love how the display on the battery not only gives you a clear readout of the percentage left, but also the time it will take to charge the battery up, along with the temperature, battery level, and power. You can also use the Bazius iPhone app to keep an eye on your nearby battery with all these details as well. Now we can keep the Bazius 140 watt IOTA portable power station in the car, so we're ready for emergencies at home or on the road. The included side light could also be really handy in these kinds of situations. Whether it's being ready for emergencies or your next great outdoor adventure, the Bazius 140 watt portable power station could be a helpful gift for you or your friends and family. Check out the link in the description for the latest deals on this battery and more from Bazius. Thanks again to Bazius for charging my devices and supporting my channel by sponsoring this video. Now, well, Apple's home app widgets can be nice for just turning things on and off. There's a lot more that you might want to do in your smart home, and that's where a third-party app called Home Widget really comes in handy because you can add widgets to standby mode that not only customize on and off state, but also things like brightness and color for light bulbs. So I have one of these to control the light right there on my desk. I can flip to this widget and then customize the brightness and color of my lamp. Another widget I find really helpful is the notes one, where you can use a panel to show a specific note for quick reference or a quick note if that's what you prefer. Widgetsmith has been around since the dawn of widgets as a powerful tool to basically make your own widgets in a lot of different categories. And I love some of the Widgetsmith options for custom photo frames where you can have a photo frame of a particular album. And there's even some UI in the widgets now with interactive widgets to, let's say, have a gallery where you can flip between multiple photos. Another simple widget that Widgetsmith has is just a quick access to digital time, because all of Apple's clock widgets for this part of standby mode just have analog clocks with the little hands. And both of those features in Widgetsmith are free, although there's more things like custom weather and other details you can get with a paid upgrade. Apple's Reminders has their interactive widget right here where you can view a particular list and then check off items from that list right there in standby mode. Another third-party app, Flighty, my favorite flight tracker, has a great way to view when your next upcoming flight is. And speaking of which, I'll be flying to CES this year, so subscribe if you want to catch my videos all about going to CES and covering it in person. I'm super excited for that. Apple's Calendar app has a variety of different widgets, and my favorite is just one that shows the dates of the month. So you get an idea of what day you're in and the date, and then just quick reference to what is next Friday going to be. So swiping to the side from the widgets view, you get the photo frame. Now, this allows you to swipe up and down between different curated collections of photos that Apple has made for you. If you long press on this, then it'll also bring up a view where you can then add custom options of custom albums you might want to have in this photo frame as well. And then if you see a photo you like in the frame, you can tap on it once, then see a link to bring that photo up in the Photos app. Now, I know what you might be thinking, which is going to the Photos frame and then the next mode of clock, you lose the smart home controls, but there's actually a quick way to get back to your smart home controls. And we'll talk about that in just a minute, but swiping to the side from Photos gives you the clock mode. Now, I use this mode for the digital clock on my nightstand, and it can be very helpful for that. And with iPhones 14 Pro and iPhones 15 Pro, it'll also go into this night mode where it turns red, so it's easier on your eyes. And it will also turn off the display when it doesn't detect any motion and then turn on as you start to move and look at the display. And I find that whole setup works really well with my iPhone 15 Pro Max, as well as with my iPhone 14 Pro before I upgraded. Now, I like the digital clock for my nightstand that also includes the temperature as well as the date. But another one that I find very helpful on my desk is the world clock. If you, like me, work with a distributed team of people all around the world, then you can add their time zones in the clock app on your phone in the world clock section. And those cities that you've added there will show up in your world clock. And if you tap on one of those cities, it'll show you the time there, but then we'll also then add your time in the upper left-hand corner. And I just love the look of this clock. It looks kind of mid-century modern almost, just fits in very elegantly, especially with my favorite stand for standby mode, which is the 12 South Forte, which then you put an Apple MagSafe charger inside, and it gives you a nice adjustable angle to view standby mode and just looks great on a desk or bedside table or wherever you want to put it. Now, this next feature I find so helpful, which is if you swipe down from the upper right-hand corner, it'll actually open Control Center, just like a lot of other parts of using your iPhone. And from there, you can add quick access to home accessories from Control Center. I like to just have the home app icon there. And if you tap that in Control Center here, it'll bring up the home view inside of Control Center, and you can quickly scroll down to whatever scene or accessory you want to control right from there. And that works across the different modes of standby modes. You could have, let's say, the big world clock on your screen, but still have not that many taps to go and control your lights while you're at it. Now, it's not all perfect. The Apple TV remote and calculator still don't work in landscape here. And you'll find that with a lot of these apps too. If it's opening the app like from Control Center or something else from like a widget, if the app doesn't work well in landscape or doesn't support it at all, you might have to like turn your head or, I don't know, do something that it'll be hard to use those apps. Now, live activities are also accessible in standby mode, and they appear as the small circle view of the live activity in the top center of the standby mode screen. Now, if you're playing music or podcasts, any kind of background audio, then that will appear in the circle and you can tap that and get this nice playback control screen where you can pause and play. And it also shows you the album artwork right there of whatever you're listening to. Now, if like me, you like to listen to music while you also have a timer going to sort of organize your work session, then if you tap on the live activity, it'll take you to music, but then from there, there's another live activity at the top for the timer, and you can tap into that, and you get a beautiful full screen view of the timer showing the progress of your session as it goes and ticks down. Now, this is all technically the setup they have for multiple live activities. So maybe you're waiting for a food delivery or some other activity you like to have in live activities. All of these mechanics will still work the same, but I think this whole concept of music plus the timer is really helpful at your desk, and it might be just the thing you're using with live activities as well. Now, notifications have also been designed specifically for standby mode, and Apple will show you this nice drawn out summary of the notification along with a little version of the thumbnail preview and then the app icon. So I think it looks really good, but you can also silence these notifications or silence the notification previews so the message from the text message isn't showing on the screen in settings, as well as all the screens that you'd use to call up Siri have been optimized for standby mode, which I really like for getting information or unit conversions or whatever. And speaking of standby mode and smart home controls, you can actually ask it to show you one of your cameras just like you can from Siri in a lot of places, and then it will open the home app with a landscape view of that particular camera. Now, if like me, you're using official MagSafe chargers for triggering standby mode in different places around your home, and you have official MagSafe cases and a phone that supports it, then that will all remember each location. So as your phone moves from your bedside table to your desk, maybe your kitchen or living room, it's going to remember your setups for standby mode for those particular places and resume that photo clock in the living room or the big clock on your bedside table or the widgets on your desk. Now, there is one key big downside of standby mode right now, and I can understand why Apple did it, but that's that you have to have your phone unlocked as you're doing it. Now, with a Face ID phone, if you get the angle of your phone right, it's going to work fine in recognizing you as you control your device. But at the same time, you're not going to be able to set this up, let's say, in your kitchen or living room and have all of your family just go over and control stuff with this. Standby mode is still really meant for just you to use with your phone. Now, right now, the iPhones 14 Pro and iPhones 15 Pro have always on screens, which means that will show these widgets basically all the time. But if you don't have that, you can still take advantage of standby mode. You'll just have to tap the screen once to wake it up every so often. Now, standby mode is a really cool feature, but it's just one of many features we actually got this year for controlling our Apple homes. And I made a video all about that. You can check out somewhere here on the screen. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.